Okay, thank you very much, Jill, for giving us the nod there to go. We're a minute early, but the public won't miss any of our business. There are a few formalities to go through before we begin. As this is the first meeting of 2022, I wish everyone a happy, productive, and a prosperous new year. And perhaps I should include in there good health as well. But it is good to see everybody. Today's meeting is being held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency. It may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. We begin this gathering by acknowledging that the land upon which we meet is the traditional territory of First Nations people. We convey our respect and thank them for their contribution to our culture, community, and our past and future partnerships. Council, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Yes, Councillor Choi, go ahead.
I do want to disclose indirect pecuniary interest in item 8E1, as I have a business relationship with a person that does have pecuniary interest in the matter.
Okay, thank you very much. It's noted.
Thank you.
I'll make note of that. And I don't see any other hands, Council, so I think we can move on to the adoption of the agenda. Are there any errors, omissions, or inclusions that you wish? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion from someone to adopt the agenda as circulated. Councillor Vink, Councillor Scholdice, discussion? All in favor? Carried. Delegations and presentation. Jill, I have South Central Ontario Region Economic Development Corporation, SCORE.
Correct, and they requested to reschedule it, so they're coming in, I believe it's March.
Okay, thank you very much for advising me of that, and we'll look forward to that. Maybe they want all that fiber in the ground by the time they meet with us. We have the consent agenda before us. I will read through these, Council, and by all means, please raise your hand. I'll pause and look up and try to catch your hand, and we'll move your selection to number 12 of the agenda should you wish to discuss any of these. December 8th and December 15th meetings of Council, A and B. December 15th draft council minutes. There's two of them, another one there. Director of Legislative Services, conversion therapy resolution. Yes, Councillor Cal.
Could that be please pulled out and brought up in new business?
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Winter Operations Report 2022. Yes, Martin Vink, Councillor Vink, would you like that pulled?
Yes, Mayor Allen.
Okay.
Or I just had a quick question, whatever you want, Mayor Allen.
I'll take that question, Martin. It may be as in terms of efficiency, I believe if it's quick, go ahead, ask your question to the chair. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. For you to Greg Storms. I know there's a list of the names for the public works and the road workers and all that. Why is he listed as an equipment operator?
Yeah, through you, Alan. Do you want a definition of an equipment operator, Councillor Vink, or is this specific?
Well, the reason for the question is we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars over the years for Jim to have a license to help with the water system. And now I see his title's equipment operator. So I wonder how this all came about. I know I was never informed.
I believe it goes, sorry to interject, Mr. Storms, but I believe the subject has been addressed to council in terms of Aqua. We didn't want to overlap our responsibilities there, but I'll let Greg finish off that question. But we didn't want to pay two people to do the same job. And but Greg, go ahead and see if you
Yeah,
can.
and through you, Mary Ellen, I will defer to Jill. She can answer this question. I'm, you know, for me, it's yes, when we restructured and used Aqua, that changed those duties, not just in the area of this individual staff person, but as well as the area of the drainage and utility superintendent. Those particular duties now are located at the public works supervisor level and with Aqua. And the role that we have for that position itself is, that position is works locating infrastructure on a daily basis. We use his local expertise moving forward from what he has learned in the past, but there is no water role for that position. And that was a decision that council made when that restructuring was done with Aqua.
Okay. Jill, would you like to add to that at all?
No, I think that's been covered. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll move on then. 5E, we've done that. 5F, notification letter, heads of council regulations for Bill 13, the Supporting People in Business Act. Yes, Councillor Choi, would you like to comment on that, or would you like that moved for discussion?
Move for discussion, please.
Okay, we'll do that. And 5G, Board of Health monthly meeting update. Council, that concludes the consent agenda. I've made note of 5D for Councillor Cowell and 5F for Councillor Choi to be discussed in section 12 of our agenda. The balance of the consent agenda, may I have a motion that the balance be accepted as presented? Councillor Cowell, moved by Councillor Cowell, seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. And we'll address those two items, councillors, down the agenda list here. Committee of Adjustment, none. And number 7, we have a public meeting. This is regarding consideration of the engineer's report on the Cavallar drain. Would Brandon be with us? Brandon Widner, Jill? Good. I see his name just appeared on our screen here. Yeah, Brandon, how are you doing there?
Good evening, everybody.
How are you?
All right.
Good. Happy New Year. Thank you for being with us. The chair will ask you to introduce us to the report on the Cavallar's drain to council, staff, and the public. If you'd like to take the floor, Brandon, go ahead.
Tonight we have the Cavallar drain. This is a drain located essentially along Falconbridge Drive. It's just west of Melbourne Road. We were appointed under 2 sections of the Act, 4 and 78. This was an existing drain which was constructed in 1968, and it had a number of branches at the time, I believe 3. We have received additional requests for a couple new branches, as well as some abandonments of existing branches and replacement of essentially what is the main drain. So just so you guys are familiar, this is the area where there's a sod farm located. That sod farm is owned by Mr. Glover. The drain initiates there, it dumps into the white drain, which is another drain that our office completed some time ago. John R. Spreet did that one. That drain is heavily restricted by the railway tracks. There's not much work we can do at that time. At this time to improve it, the railway is essentially the limiting factor on depth for this whole project. So what we have tonight is a replacement of the main drain that's going to be replaced with 24-inch to 18-inch concrete tile that starts at the white drain in the Glover property, and it continues west all the way through the Van Geffen lands. So Van Geffen's own a number of farms here. This goes through the first 50-acre farm and stops just into the next one. There's also a number of branches being either reconstructed or constructed. So branch one's an existing branch. It runs in the Glover farm up and across Falcon Ridge Drive into a farm owned by D&E Romilly. There's also another branch. This one's called branch number 4. This branch is being constructed. There's 2 residential lots. It's coming just west of those 2 lots and serving the road drainage. There's then an additional branch, branch 5, which comes off branch 1 to serve the other Romilly farm as well as the road. You know, there has been some maintenance done on this drain to accommodate some flooding over the last year. If you drive by this location, there's usually water ponded in the Glover farm. It's quite low in relative to the surrounding lands and a lot of the water ponds there. The total cost of the project as proposed, including all the branches, is approximately $183,500. And it's assessed out to the multiple owners on the drain. You will see there's assessments to the road, Falcon Ridge Drive, as there is 2 road crossings being completed. Now, there's also assessments in this case to Enbridge gas pipeline. So if I'm correct, there's 3 gas lines currently along this road. I believe one might be in the process of being abandoned and one is recently constructed. So there's assessments to them for that, which included some of the locating. But the rest of the money is split up accordingly, as you can see on the assessment schedule, and the net assessment, which is attached. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Brandon, very much for that report. This was petitioned by Mr. Remley. We pronounce it very often in our area. And all have had a chance to discuss this with Andrew and yourself, I presume, on the drain.
There's been a number of meetings on this one. I'll be honest, this is one of the older projects. It was initiated in late 2020. I believe we had a site meeting not too long after that, as well as there was one more recently. The major landowners were all present.
Council, any questions that you would like to ask Brandon or our drainage superintendent? And Andrew, if you would be kind enough to take us through the process, it would be, I think it would be encouraging to council if you did. We'd appreciate that very much.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, very well.
Okay. As Brandon had mentioned early in 2020, I had went to the Cavallar's drain on Falcon Bridge and met with James Glover and Nathan Welch in order to figure out what the issue was in the area. And at this point, through some correspondence, it was determined that an additional branch that is present in the agenda, branch number 4, should be added. As a result, there was a petition that was submitted by these 2 landowners. And also, there was a scoping meeting that was held shortly after this, and people from the drain were invited to this meeting to further discuss the situation before Brandon had been appointed. After this, an on-site meeting was held, as Brandon mentioned, with himself present, and more information was discussed with the people that were there. And as Brandon had mentioned, it was mentioned at that time that the top end branches number 2 and 3 they would like to see them abandoned. They occupy one landowner's properties, and that has been recognized in the report. And fall of 2021, the preliminary meeting that was held on site to discuss the draft plan and assessments. Late fall of this past year, there was a meeting with myself, Mr. Remley, and Mr. Glover, and it was discussed about an existing handshake agreement, that drain that was present and that it was no longer working. At this point, James, Mr. Glover, had volunteered to replace the drain at his own expense. After which, there was branch number 1 patches carried out to that existing drain under maintenance to keep it going for the time being. And after this as well, Mr. Rumley had submitted a Section 4 petition to upgrade that handshake agreement drain that is there, and it is classified as branch 5. This is a right that anyone within a watershed has to, and we have seen this at this council before, to incorporate an existing drain that really has no legal status, has no legal right attached to it, that typically landowners would like to see that incorporated into municipal drain. This provides the ability for an engineer to design it, and so that it meets provincial standards, but also it allows protection, legal protection going forward for the future, regardless of who owns what properties, opposed to an agreement drain, a handshake agreement drain that is dependent on the memory of the people who own those properties, which can be an issue in the future when those owners no longer own those properties. So, and I believe that more or less captures most of how we got to this point.
Okay, thank you, Andrew, very much. Brandon, before I go to the affected property owners' comments, anything else you wish to add? Just to make sure
one thing I will add is the recent gas line that went down Falcon Bridge essentially wrecked both those drains. So that's some of the reason I believe Dennis Romley has asked for the additional branch. So the new gas line went down the south side of the road, and let's just say where his tile is, it's evident because there was a large hole there where the gas line cut it. So I think that's what initiated that. Okay. And I'm sure Andrew has had other issues along Falcon Bridge with that gas line being constructed. I know Stratford Caradoc has a number of issues as well. But there's a lot of utilities on this road, and that's one thing to note.
Yeah. Andrew, have Enbridge been good to deal with on this, or are they turning a blind eye, or are they cooperating?
They are cooperating, yes. They have been quite good to right any wrongs that have been created, and I believe Greg Storms can attest to that as well. Okay,
good. Thank you, Greg. If you'd like to comment on that before we
move
on.
Yeah, I would just, through you, Mayor Allen, just in council certainly is aware of this and has participated and received presentations from Enbridge with regards to the replacement of that particular line on Falcon Bridge. I have not had a situation with them where they haven't done a repair if they've hit a line. I'm not sure that, and I will speak with Andrew about this tomorrow, but because they've been really quick at resolving any of those particular issues. If you also recall, there's 2 pipes that they replaced with 1 pipe. So we do have a situation where Enbridge had two pipes in place, one that ran along the road edge, or ran along the right of way of the road, and the other pipe was pretty much in private, all on private property in farmers' fields. So, you know, they've been a great group to work with. So if we have had a problem there, you know, I'd like to make sure that, you know, that they're aware of that, and they certainly have done nothing but rectify any situation that we've brought before them. So
That's great news, Greg. Thank you. And thank you, Andrew. The staff will certainly be in communication with the property owners, Mr. Remley, and the London line was a big job. Council, and Brandon, I don't want to cut you off. You're all done your presentation there. We'll move on to questions from affected property owners who are present virtually. Jill, are there any? Yes.
Yes, Mayor Mayhew, we have three different folks who have registered. We've got James Glover, Dennis Romley, and Mark Van Geffen. So I think Barbara has just brought in James Glover first.
Okay. Great. James, how are you doing there? You, James, if you can unmute yourself, if you see a little red microphone, just click it there if you can, James.
How's that?
Good.
Any better?
Yeah, you're great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Thank you for joining us. James, you have the floor, and you're talking to the chair. And if we have any, if you have any questions, we'll try to get you an answer from the appropriate parties. Go ahead, James.
Brandon, my question is more towards you. I mean, everything you got going so far looks good. I know we had repairs on branch 1. We've been at this since Elizabeth was the drainage inspector at that time. So this has been a long awaited thing to get repaired. I know the stuff Andrew did meet up with Romley and myself for that branch 5 for the petition. Not supposed to branch 5 petition. The question, Brandon, is, did you look at just directly to the east of that? There's a connection at the corner of the property where he could drain the water out that way. From where that connection 5 crosses the road onto Romley's property, directly to the east, it's 210 meters, 693 feet. There's a drain connection he could connect right there. And also in addition, the other one that is branch 1, the spreading there is only 100 meters, 330 feet. Is there not some way that he could just connect into that one rather than create a whole new branch again and have to create a whole new branch 5?
Thank you, James. Brandon, we'll let the professional delve into this. Do you have a response, or would you need some time to?
There's no, let's say, municipal drain there. It's an existing private drain. You know, we could investigate incorporating it. From what I understand, it was plastic ag pipe. That's typically not our material of choice for a municipal drain. That being said, you know, we could investigate it, but the branch here is rather short. It's only 130 meters of tile on that property, and it consists of 10-inch tile. You know, we are trying to connect to the existing municipal drain. That would be a separate entity or a separate branch off the white drain, which is separate of the Cavallar, let's say. You know, I think the issue is here, we're looking for maximum depth. We do have, again, the utilities to cross under Falconbridge Drive. And typically the minimum size we use today for a municipal drain is 8-inch concrete tile, which essentially is equivalent to 10-inch ag pipe. So that's another thing to consider. And we needed that for the level of grade, which is required to serve the Romley farm. So, you know, we're open to other ideas, but this is what's proposed.
But
Yeah,
I'm just, I mean, if you ran it from, sorry.
James, well, the engineer has given his opinion, but yes, by all means, if you have a follow-up question you wish to ask him, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. Brandon, I'm just wondering, like I said, it's 100 meters straight down the road there and connected into the existing branch 1, rather than have to create a whole new drain. We've obviously my farm currently has been the floodplain for this whole area for a long time. And it's been broken down tiles that causes a great deal of stress and problems. And Andrew can attest to all my crying. And I'm like trying to keep, this is just how much more the field is getting ripped up here to add more tile. I'm like, okay, what's the path of least resistance? You know, going river branch 1, it solves all those issues. It doesn't create another whole drain. We could do it. They could do it with a drain right on, hooking into branch 1 and over, and eliminate another branch going to the property. And it's an even shorter run of 100 meters rather than 130 meters. That's what I saw there. Or even running, like I said, the other corner is 210 meters. It is a further run, but there's a drain outlet there. And then you got a branch 4. So, I mean, really this piece of property has 3 total outlets, opportunities. Right now, is it really needed? And that's why I was asking, can we not take branch 5 connected to branch 1 on the same side of the road and just tie it into that one and be done with it, rather than have to create a whole new branch there and rip up more farm? Like I said, our farm's been a pinata right now, which is getting destroyed. We're trying to prevent more of this happening. And then on top of that, as branch 1 is a prime example, these things break and crumble. And here I have been for over 5 years dealing with flooding. We've lost countless acres of crop here due to, you know, crumbling infrastructure, which I think is great that it's getting redone. But now we're adding more to it. It's draining everyone else's property onto our farm, and we're the ones paying the price, and have been for, I bet you, well over a decade. I've only been farming this not quite that long, but I've had substantial problems in this area. And here we are, want to add another branch. I'm like, is it really required? We can run shorter without creating a new branch. You can run from where that branch 5 starts, run it straight down. It's a 100-meter run connected to branch 1. And it's that much less pipe we have to incur. It's that much less cost as well.
Okay, thank you, James, for that. Brandon, any response?
Well, there's always alternatives that can be investigated, and yes, the cost might be lower on different alternatives. The proposal we presented, I think is the most reasonable to solve the problem that's being presented. But we're always open to suggestions. But what we have presented here, I'm confident will work. I'm confident it's one of the most economical routes or paths of least resistance. I understand there's a large amount of drains on this farm. But take note, the existing drain is there. The existing branch 1, it's been there since 1968. Branch 4 is going to serve essentially roadside drainage where it's currently flooded along the 2 properties. And branch 5, yes, is a new municipal drain, but there is an existing private drain, not in the exact same location, but it serves the same location. I guess I don't have anything further to add.
Okay. And the opportunity was presented, as we previously had mentioned, of the scoping meetings, and there was a forum where these things could have been mentioned, and they were not, evidently. Or was this discussed at any of the meetings that were held? Maybe Andrew, you'd be better to ask that question. Your opinion on Mr. Glover's remarks?
This branch 5 was proposed late last year. So after the scoping meeting, after the preliminary meeting and an on-site meeting. This is the first time that we've had the ability to speak to this branch directly.
Okay. James, just out of courtesy, I'll allow you one more question. Are you covered everything pretty well?
I think I've covered everything. I guess I'm trying to find resolution, obviously. And obviously it boils down to dollar and cents on all this stuff. I guess the concern we're having, and I don't know if there's another way to address it, on this drain, which doesn't even serve our property at all. We're getting assessed for the bulk of it. I mean, this is a drain that's going to cost me $8,800 in addition to everything else. My total drainage costs on this is over $30,000 for these drains to be taken care of, with the exception of branch 4, which I actually put my own drain in there and it's fine. I don't even need branch 4 anymore, other than my neighbor, Mr. Welch, does. I don't even care to have any drains on my property at all. They don't serve any purpose to my property as we tile our own farms. And here I am just bearing the brunt for everyone else's property. Branch 5 is another kick in the teeth for $8,800 for water that isn't even on my property. It's not even causing my property problems, but yet I understand how the Drainage Act acts, is that it's, you know, it's assessed by property and how much is on your property. I don't know if there's any way, Brandon, you might have some input on this, that we can assess this differently. Like I said, the branch 5 is doing 0 for my property. The bulk of the water, this tile is going across my property, but it's not draining, it's draining 0 of my water. But yet I have to pay the lion's share of it, which I don't understand, I guess, is what's got us confused. And maybe that's causing a frustration on my end, hence the reasons we're following up on things and doing what the acts we're doing now. I don't know if there's any change we can do in that, Brandon. Is there any system allowable to adjust that to make this more fair in any way? Because I understand existing branches. I can't do anything with that. I'm not going to argue it. It's just, it is what it is. We just keep adding branches, and every time someone puts in an appeal out to add another branch, I'm the one bearing the brunt and is draining everyone else's water but my own, and here I am paying the price all the time. It just gets a little, I guess, tiring our end of it. And I realize we're the low end of the area. Is there any way we can reassess this to balance this out a little bit?
Okay, James, I think you put forth the question to Brandon a couple of times in that statement, so we'll allow Brandon the chance to answer. And Andrew, if you wish to be included in this, just raise your hand and the chair will spot it. Okay, go ahead, Brandon.
Well, much of those questions relate to assessment. The assessment will be dealt with at the quarter revision. Prior to that, you know, I guess have a discussion with Mr. Glover and how the assessments are derived, but anything assessment related, again, shall be dealt with at the quarter revision.
It's premature, no question about that. And we'll have, Mr. Glover, you'll have opportunity to discuss the assessment on the application. So there will be another venue that you can discuss your concern with. I think perhaps we'll bring in Dennis Remley now. Jill, is that possible to bring him in? Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Glover. Dennis, I see you on my screen. If you'd like to click that red microphone so we can hear you, if you're unmute yourself. Good. I think you might have. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good. Very well. And Dennis, thank you for joining us tonight. Dennis, I understand you put the application in for this drain, so I'll give you the floor. You go ahead.
Yes, I did. Originally, this field was tiled many decades ago by Grant Wolf. And at that time, I had a handshake agreement with the property owner at the time on the north side. And we took the drain down into the #1 branch. So the whole system was designed to drain in to the #1 branch that way. And since then, the tile, there's problems there, of course. So while we're doing the other Cavallar's drain and the branch 1 is being replaced, I would like this new branch included in the project. It's going to give me the best fall and the best depth. And this is what my drainage contractor recommended. And there's also the legal element that ensures that the drain will be looked after and protected for both property owners in the future. I guess that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead. I'll come back to you, Dennis, if there's any more. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
No, I think what the engineer's done here is the proper way of doing it. And I know the price might seem high for some people, but there's 4 different property owners that are on the benefit of this drain. So it is what it is, I guess.
Okay, well, we, yes, of course, we're limited to our actions in terms of the Drainage Act as well. We must follow that, and Andrew and Brandon will certainly condone that. Is there any response, Andrew, from that at all in terms of Mr. Remley's remarks?
Not too much. I would agree with Mr. Remley's remarks with regards to the approach on the additional branch. Without going into too much detail, generally speaking, the lay of the land does want to go in that direction. James had touched on it, and Dennis did as well. There are issues with regards to depth on this drain. I can say from firsthand knowledge that branch 1, in its current position, has less than a foot of cover in areas. So this is a concern. There is a roll to the land, which adds to the problems of depth and grade. So given that, I would tend to agree with this approach that has been put forward.
Okay, thank you. And Brandon, from an engineering perspective, any comment on Dennis's remarks?
No, but one thing we need to be clear on, Dennis has only initiated the one branch. Dennis wasn't actually the initiator on the majority of the project. It was the Glover property that started this.
Okay.
And Dennis, Dennis is actually not getting a ton of work on his property. He's getting 2 outlets for 2 individual 50-acre parcels. Essentially, all the work is on the north side of the road in the Glover property. And between the Glovers and Van Geffens, that's where the assessments are. Van Geffens have 4 properties on this drain, and they're assessed on each one of them.
Okay, that's valuable information. Thank you, Brandon. Dennis, last chance. Any further comments you'd like to make, or have you covered it all?
No, I think I've covered it all.
Okay, thank you very much for your participation. Andrew, the next on my agenda, I have to ask requests from those present to add or remove their name. Is that applicable? Is that applicable in this case, or is it not?
It is applicable. However, to my knowledge, I haven't received anyone that would like to withdraw their names at this point.
Okay, then the chair will read that again. Request from those present virtually to add or remove their names from the petition, section 4 only, and there has been none received. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your input. All is valuable. And Brandon, thank you very much for your report.
Mayor, thank you. Can
yeah.
I just interrupt? We still have one individual, Mark Van Geffen, who would like to speak.
Yep, thank you very much. I had that down too, Jill. Thank you. Mark, I'll wait to see you on the screen there. Greg, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Marilyn, just quickly, and I sort of reiterate what Brandon had mentioned earlier, that the initial stage of this process was a section 4 that was submitted by the Glover property, as well as an improvement under 78 for the existing main drain that was there. The subsequent section 4 submitted by Mr. Romilly was submitted for branch 5, if I'm correct, Andrew. And the other thing that I will mention to council is that, typically, well, most all the time, Brandon's work would involve a watershed, which includes all these partners. And, I do think that Andrew initiated a process here where he had a scoping session with everybody involved and several site meetings with regards to the plan to move forward. And, I give them a lot of credit for spending that time with the landowners, but we're dealing with the watershed and we're dealing with 2 different section 4s. The road authority signed on to the Glover section 4 immediately because of our commitment to trying to resolve the issue up on Falcon Bridge and the road authority's involvement, in getting rid of road water up there as well. So, the municipality is part of the original section 4 that was created for this project. And I think after the series of meetings, Mr. Romilly has the right to submit a section 4 for that branch. He has a legal right to do that. And certainly that was engineered, and Brandon has brought that into his engineering. So that's my understanding of that process. And, when Andrew approached me on signing for the road authority, I had no issue because of the the result that was to be attained was to get better drainage for all the properties within that watershed.
No, it seems the due process has been followed and the opportunity for input from the landowners has been respected. Mr. Van Geffen, I see you on my computer screen. I notice a little red microphone. Can you click that microphone? Good. I think you got it off. Can we hear you?
How are you guys?
I'm good, Mark. How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much for joining
Not
us.
too bad.
Mark, you go ahead if you have some input and conversation. Give council. Go ahead, Mark.
I don't have much to add to what James and Dennis. I said I don't have much to add to what Dennis and James said. I just was on the whole conversation just because I'm the highest majority payer of this train. So it's just tuning in basically to hear what the conversation.
Well,
they've done a good job assessing what needs to happen. Mr. Glover initiated because he needed, he is correct on most of the watershed is going in his drain. And that's partly why we're all part of this that problem. And I think what they proposed will initiate and totally fix the issue that mainly James ran into. And I hope that's the case. And that's all I'm here just to hear what's going on. That's it.
Good. Thanks, Mr. Van Geffen. Mark, you support the engineer's report then, is that correct from what I hear? Yeah, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, that's their job and I trust that they've done this. Yeah, I've got really bad internet over here in Adelaide, so I'll just sign off. I'm good with everything.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. It's good to have you. Jill, we've had 3. I believe that's covered it pretty well. Good. Thank you very much again. Council, any comments from members of council? Directed through the chair. Yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
Thank you. Hopefully my internet will hold up. I just wanted to comment that this entire drain is put in at $183,500. With this assessment and the way it's been broken down, $44,400 is being provided by grant, and the municipality, it appears through special assessment in Enbridge, is picking up the tab of over $46,000. So if I was one of those farmers, I would totally understand how come they've gone through the drainage process and able to have access to some of those components that bring down the price of them each individually paying, including the allowances. So I can see how this would be spread out as equitably as possible.
Okay, thank you. Council, any further questions you'd like to direct to Brandon or Andrew? Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Brandon and Andrew, I just want to point out something what Mr. Glover stated. Mentioned that it's all on his property, but he will be given an allowance, I believe, for having the work done on his property. Is that not correct, Andrew and Brandon?
Yep. Brandon, I'll let you go first, followed by Andrew.
Yeah, he is given allowances for right away at damages. And that's for crop damage, and it's for continued access to the drain in the future. But that's an allowance. The main thing that's driving his assessment is his benefit. All the other land, for instance, the Van Geffen lands are much higher. And the water does drain over into Mr. Glover's and at ponds. And the drain should alleviate that, and that's where the benefits are being derived. But yeah, he does receive allowances, as do the Van Geffens.
Okay. Andrew, I don't want to overlook you. Anything else to add to that?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. No, out of respect, I wanted to ask you. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Vink. Councillor, any further questions? Where's Mark here? Mark, any questions? You're okay?
Oh, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. No, it looks fine to me. I just wanted to point out, and I think Krista alluded to this a bit. Actually, Southwest Middlesex is the biggest. If you look at page 19, that gives the final schedule of assessment after grants and allowances. Southwest Middlesex is actually the biggest single payer. We're paying about $45,000, a little over $45,000. And then I think Mr. Glover is second at $30,000.
Okay, thank you. Those are good points, Mark. Thank you. Council, last call for questions. Seeing none, a decision is in order to approve the drainage report and first and second reading of the bylaw would commence. That is the recommendation before you, Council. Is there someone recommended? Councillor Cal, I saw your hand first. You're moving the motion. Councillor Deputy Mayor Wilkins is seconding the motion. I believe I'm correct in that. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. When can we expect the court of revision on this drain?
That would be timetabled in what, Andrew, what's your crystal ball tell you on that?
As far as I know, it would be next month, the first meeting of next month.
Okay, first meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Good question, Michael. All right, I'll call the question. All in favor, Council, of acceptance of the report? All opposed? I think
Doug's frozen.
Yeah, Doug's frozen there. I wasn't sure. I just wanted to, I called opposed just in case he was just holding still there. Thank you, Brandon, very much. Andrew, thank you as well. The engineer's recommendation has been accepted. Number 8, we're into staff reports, Council. Jill, correct me if I'm wrong. Fire, I don't believe there's any at this time.
Correct.
And 8B, administration, council's appointment to committee and board vacancies. If you could walk us through this. Councillor Choi being appointed to the Economic Development Committee. Go ahead.
Sure, and Barbara helped to prepare this report with respect to the appointment to committees and boards. So the vacancy was created as a result of the passing of our former council member. With that new appointment, we also now have an opportunity to fill some of those positions on various committees and external bodies as well. But on top of that, we were already in the process since I think early last summer. Ms. Choi had been expressed some interest in economic development and participated as an observer in the meeting, and then put her name forward or agreed to be a member, and that was now recommended from the Economic Development Committee. So the other committees were looking for council to provide some direction on our 4 counties transportation. The deputy mayor sits on that as well, and I believe they just had a recent meeting at the beginning of this week. Is that correct, Deputy Mayor? I think it was. The Emergency Management Program Committee, which also ends up being our Emergency Management Control Group, which has met fairly regularly in the last couple of years, and the Canada Day Committee. So that's open to council, really, if there are members who are interested, and there may be some already that have got an interest in serving on those, and put it back to you, Mayor Mayhew.
Jill, thank you very much for presenting that. I think, Council, there's 3 recommendations. The appointment to 4 counties transportation, the vital service. Are there any council members that would be interested in that? Deputy Mayor Wilkins, you sit on
Mayor
that?
Mayhew.
Yes.
I do sit on that, Mayor Mayhew. I was just thinking, since Amy is the one that's replacing Ian, that maybe she should be given first choice at these.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's something she doesn't want, then it could be open to council, but I think that's the fair way to do it.
Okay. If Amy is, can certainly put up her hand as well when asked. Councillor Choi, are you interested in that Four Counties transportation?
Thank you. I'm not interested in that one, but I am interested in the other two committees. When that time comes, I'd like to put my name forward.
All right, thank you very much. Council, Mark McGill, yes. Mark, are you interested in that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I agree with what Mary Gay said, that Amy should be given first choice, but I know she's interested, as she said, she's interested in the other two. And my dad used to use Four Counties Transit when he got older and wasn't driving anymore. And I think it's a valuable service. And if you're looking for somebody to go on that committee, I would be willing to let my name stand. And also, I'm not going to be on St. Clair Region Conservation Authority this year because I was only on for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Newbury gets the 4th year.
Yes, I remember
So I'm down one committee, so
okay.
I could do this. It's not a lot of meetings, is it, Mary Gay?
Yeah, Mary.
Usually 4 a year, unless there's something special that comes up. There will be likely a few more this year, Councillor McGill, because we are going to be investigating replacing the current van we have. So there might be 1 or 2 more extra meetings, but no, there's not a lot.
Okay. Council, are there any other takers? I want to be very equitable in this appointment. Seeing none, we will certainly give Councillor McGill the job with his interest. Mark, I think you're on that committee. Just remind council that Southwest Middlesex is the largest user of that Four Counties Transit too, from an historical perspective. Jill, we can adopt these. The first one is Mark. We'll adopt these all at once. Mark will be appointed to the Four Counties Transportation, appointed to the Emergency Management Committee, and Emergency Management Control Group. Are there any interested in that? Amy, I see your hand up again. We certainly want to give you the privilege of that as a replacement for Councillor Crothers.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any objections to that, Council. Then when the motion is put forward, Councillor Choi will be appointed to the Emergency Management Program Committee and Emergency Management Control Group. And the last one is the Canada Day Committee. This has been inactive because of COVID-19. We're not sure where we'll be in July, but we certainly would like to have new members. The Lions Club contributed an immense amount to this committee as well. And we're very pleased to have them sit on this committee. They're invaluable, their input on it. Any takers? Yes, Amy, would you like to go on that?
Yes, I would, please.
We'll keep you busy then. It'll be a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So Jill, for the record, Mark is appointed to the Four Counties Transportation. Amy is appointed to Emergency Management Program Committee and Emergency Management Control Group, and that Amy too is appointed to the Canada Day Committee. Jill, do you require a motion to that effect?
Yep.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Cow, seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. Jill, we're okay to move on? Building 8C, there are none on my notes.
I do.
Jill,
I do have a report with the second one under administration. So this is just administrative services agreement with the Community Schools Alliance.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Jill, if you would.
Sure, just briefly, I believe we touched on this at the end of last year, that this was an offer that was responded to by our office, and we thought we could make this work. So we've worked with the Community School Alliance representatives in a draft agreement. They have reviewed and have considered this and are in agreement with a couple of tweaks that were made at the end of their last meeting, and I was agreeable to those. So that's what's before council here today.
Okay. So, yeah, council, if there's any concern about the wording of the recommendation, by all means, but we're looking at the agreement with the Community School Alliance. Are there questions? Councillor Cow, go ahead.
I'd like to move the recommendation.
Okay, and is there a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Wilkins, questions, council? Okay, we can, we'll call that vote important body and an important subject matter that's close to all of our hearts. I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Carried, council. Thank you, Jill. I apologize for missing that. And find you on my screen. We can go on with building then now, 8C. There's no report. Finance, no report. I want to thank Kristen very much. If she's still with us here, yes, she's on her screen. Thank you, Kristen, for piloting through our budget negotiations. We came a long ways from the initial meeting, and I'd like to thank all of council for their input as well.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Operations, we have the Switzer Drain 2020 and the McLean Switzer Branch 2021. Andrew, you'll walk us through this, and I just remind Councillor Choi has declared a conflict of interest on that. Okay, Andrew, would you like to lead us off, or Greg?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you. Some of the background, I won't go into too much depth on this. Councillor Choi had a comment.
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Can I be removed?
Yes, you may. Yep, you may.
Thank
you. You have filed the paperwork, Amy, have you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You're off. Yep. It's been noted in the opening remarks under the declaration of conflict of interest.
Yeah, so Mayor Mayhew, if I can, Amy, in normal circumstances, the council member would either just leave their chair and sit in the gallery or just push their chair away. So in this instance, you might just want to turn your camera on for the duration of the discussion.
Okay, that's fine. I see you're on mute, Amy, and just click your camera off and then there won't be any confusion. That's good. Andrew, thank you again. Andrew, if you could walk us through this.
Yes. I just thought I would mention a little bit of background, but I won't go into much detail as the council has seen this different times. I will mention that requests for tenders for the Switzer Drain 2020 were sent out on December 9th, and tenders for 4 tenders work described in September 16th, 2020 report submitted by Spreet Associates. Requests for tenders for McLean Switzer Branch 2021 were sent out late November, the 26th of 2020. The closing date for these were Friday, December 17th. The engineer's estimate for September 2020, sorry, Switzer 2020, this was the bigger enclosure project, was 105,800. The engineer's estimate for the McLean Switzer Branch 2021 was $56,060. 2 tenders for Switzer Drain were received, and 3 tenders for McLean Switzer Branch Drain 2020 were received. And it just so happens that both of the lowest bids for the Switzer Drain 2021 and McLean, sorry, the other one, 2020, were both from Van Bree Drainage and Bulldozing. For the just want to make sure that I get these right because the naming can be confusing. The McLean Switzer 2021, the second second request was Van Bree Drainage at $57,610. And for the Switzer Drain 2020, the larger one, was also Van Bree Drainage at $138,085. And it is at this point that I would recommend that council accepts the recommendation that is also provided by Spreet & Associates, that the tender be awarded to Van Bree Drainage for both Switzer Drain 2020 and McLean Switzer Branch 2022-21.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. Council, you've heard the recommendation, the lowest tender by Van Bree. Any questions you'd like to direct to the chair? Yes, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Through the mayor to Andrew Neely. Any indication from Van Bree on how soon they could get this done? I think this has been going on for 9 years now. And I know the farmers that are on the drain have said that their crops have really suffered, especially this last year when it was so wet, because the work really needs to get done. So one of them asked me, how soon could we expect this to be done?
Andrew, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to the Switzer 2020, the larger one, the earliest date indicated was April, with a range of April to August. And for the smaller project, 2021, the same time frame. Given the fact that both of them would be done at the same time, assuming that council awards this to Van Bree, it would make sense that construction would be completed at the same time.
Okay, that's a large window, Mark, for you, but it's certainly conditional upon weather and things. Okay, any further questions, council? Yes, Councilor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Andrew, I think in the past, it has been a case of if the estimate is more than 10%, has to be some sort of follow-up or not?
I'll let Andrew respond to that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The Act states if the lowest bid is 133% over the engineer's estimate, then we would have to have a public meeting where we invite everyone on the drain to have their input. However, given that this is not the case, we are within our rights to have this meeting in this style.
Thank you, Andrew. Councilor Vink, I see you nodding your head there, so I think you got your question answered. Any follow-up, Martin? You're okay?
Yes, fine.
Thanks. Okay. Council, any further questions to Andrew? Or seeing none, the recommendation is before you. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Martin Vink. Councilor Vink, seconder for that? Moved by Mark McGill. I think there's been ample questions. You've had lots of opportunity, council. I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Yeah, the recommendation has been accepted. It's nice to put that to bed. Correspondence and petition, the letter from the Minister Thompson regarding drainage to CN. I know that all of staff have been working on that, and I'm not sure who to ask to bring this to the councilor's ears. Jill, you've been working diligently on this. Any comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Yes, we have spent a significant amount of time trying to aim towards getting to this type of an outcome. So I would be very hopeful that council would be supportive of what is now an initiative that the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Rural Association have put forward and have now got on their agenda as well, and that our council support that and do what they can as well to encourage other councils to be supportive of this. I think that the letter from the minister to CN was very clearly stated the provincial position, which is very helpful to us, in my opinion. So I do thank Greg and Andrew, but we've been working closely with other municipalities as well to move this forward, and happy to and pleased to see this come to fruition.
Good. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd like to support this, but before I do, I'd just like to comment at the amount of time that staff have taken on this. I know Greg and Andrew have certainly contributed, but it was Jill that really spearheaded this. And I know that we've got neighbors that have partnered with us in it. I think we have, I'll just name a few: South Perth, Thames Centre, Chatham, Kent, Adelaide, Metcalfe, and I believe maybe Southwold. And I probably missed somebody, but we certainly appreciate their support in supporting this endeavor as well. But I'll just mention that we were successful in getting a delegation again this year at Roma with the Minister of Ag and Food. I know there's a few council members that are going to go to support our CAO when that time comes for the delegation. I believe this is also the third delegation we've had at Roma for this very issue. Am I correct on that, Jill?
That's correct.
And we've all, well, most of us have been involved in that. I know Councillor McGill and Bartlett and Cowell and myself and the mayor have been involved in the two prior. This is just a good example that those delegations do work at conferences. You know, we've had other examples and grant money that have come down the pipe that has certainly been results of delegations as well. So I just like to thank Jill again and the rest of staff that have been involved in this, because I don't think if you had started this, we'd be there. And this is only going to benefit, not only going to benefit Southwest Middlesex as a whole for a municipality, it's the farmers that are on these drains as well. And for far too long, as far as I'm concerned, they've carried the brunt of these costs on these drains. So thank you very much, Jill and Greg and Andrew, for all the work you've done on this.
Yes, I remember the beginnings in front of Minister Hardman when we brought this to his attention, and we followed his recommendation of getting other municipalities on board. And I think Southwest Middlesex can be very proud of that, that we initiated this. Any further questions? Last call. The recommendation is before you. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Cowell.
She moved it, but I'm seconded.
Okay, fine. That's great. Okay, I said before. Yeah, all right. Wasn't clear that you did, but that's fine. Questions? Last call. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to staff, again, I want to echo the deputy mayor's comments, and I kind of squealed with glee when it was mentioned in the Honorable Lisa Thompson's letter about AMO delegations and Roma delegations, and I thought that was us. We were there pestering them, even if it was virtually. So it's a small thing, but it felt substantial to say that, you know, we've heard from these ratepayers and we've heard from Mr. Neely how this is holding up work and how this is productive land. And as the mayor says, we are the breadbasket. And when you can't grow crops properly, we heard from our last drainage situation, and the one before that drainage is an important component of producing and yield. Production and yields in this agricultural area. So hopefully we'll be able to give our farmers the opportunity to have increased yields from this work.
Good. Thank you, Krista, very much for that. When I received that letter, I had the same pride that you just pictured for us there. All right, I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand with the recommendation. Carried. Unfinished business, Jill? None, I don't believe.
We do have another item under 10B.
Oh, yes, we do. Yeah. Edward's request for refund, minor variance. Would Kristen like to lead us on that, or Jill, you can?
Yeah, I think that I can, and Kristen will certainly help depending on the decision of council. But the minor variance, council will recall that this was an application, staff had prepared a report. And then through additional confirmation that the planner sought from the applicants, that she was then able to determine that they put down the wrong number on their application, and the right number meant they didn't need a minor variance. So the applicants are requesting a refund. Now, we did still do the work associated with this, but certainly understand the desire for a request. The staff can't waive these fees and charges. It's up to council to make a decision about that. So that's why it's before council.
Thank you very much. That's generous. And council, any questions regarding this? Yes, Councillor Schuldeis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'll move that we approve the refund.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for Councillor Schuldeis's motion? Councillor Vink? Thank you. Questions? Yes, Councillor Schuldeis.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I've had a few phone calls on this, and I'm just wondering when the applicant can expect to receive the refund.
I think they're fairly expeditious on that. Kristen would be the best one to answer that.
We will be preparing checks tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I go in most nights and sign those checks, Councillor Schuldeis, so there won't be any delay. Okay, all in favor of the recommendation, please raise your hand. It's carried. Okay. Unfinished business, none. New business, we have Councillor Cowell requested 5D, Director of Legislative Services, Conversion Therapy Resolution. Councillor Cowell, would you like to speak to this?
Last summer, the federal government was looking at making legislative policy surrounding conversion therapy, and they let it fall as a result of the pending election. And this resolution is asking for them to bring back legislation surrounding this, and I'd like it to be supported.
Okay, will you move that?
I will.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Wilkins, thank you. Council, is there discussion? Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to know exactly what they are asking in this resolution. Because obviously there's been a little bit of controversy involved with this, so much so that people in the church aren't even allowed to speak to people about alternatives.
Okay, Councillor Cowell, I saw your hand up. Would you like to address the comment?
Yeah, it's talking about the negative components of how the idea of conforming to a cisgendered approach, it's sexuality. So there is a perception that you should be assigned a gender at birth, and there is a perception that if you're not cisgendered, that there's something wrong with that, and that conversion therapy is supposed to help you maintain a cisgendered approach. That has been, and it says this in the information that we've received, but the Canadian Psychiatric Association, the Canadian Professional Association for Transgender Health, Canadian Psychological Association, and many, many other Canadian associations associated with mental health, including the United Nations and the World Health Organization, say that this is dangerous and detrimental. And I agree with that and would support that Canada has legislation that makes this type of behavior illegal.
Thank you. Council, any further questions? And I'll call the vote that Southwest Middlesex endorse the request. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Motion is carried.
Sorry, who was the seconder? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Wilkins moved by, it was the seconder, Councillor Cal moved it.
Thank you.
And Councillor Choi, you brought out 5F to us, a notification letter, heads of council for Bill 13, the Supporting of People and Business Act. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. I was wondering if we were planning on putting this into place in the future. Being able to delegate certain decisions to committees or staff for different planning per se.
Okay, in answer to your question, I will have to refer to Jill. Jill, can you get the context of the question there?
Sure. So that's the great question, Councillor Choi. I reached out to the Director of Planning and our local planners, Stephanie Poirier, so Dirk van der Werf and Stephanie Poirier, to ask about their inputs. And they are preparing an informational report that I think they will share with all of the local municipalities, as well as I suspect with County Council, about where the implications are for us and how there might be opportunities for some adjustments. So we're working with them already. They're going to provide a report, and then I think it'll be up to council to decide whether or not there are some of these things that they wish to consider and perhaps adopt and change into practice. So there will be something coming forward for us in the not too distant future from county planning.
Okay. And
Thank you.
Choi, any follow-ups? You're okay there, Amy, are you?
Yes,
Good.
thank you.
Question's been answered. All right, and we'll look forward to dealing with that at a future meeting. Council, there were only the two items that were dealt with. The others were questions that some councillors had were dealt with during the adoption of the correspondence. County Council and any conference updates? I'll just remind Council, Roma's coming up soon. Council, any announcements at all? I'll give you a moment to consider that. The events coming up. I know there's one on February 14th. The Ag Society are hosting a dinner. Valentine's Day dinner for your Valentine. Okay, none. We are, yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
Just as of yesterday, the Melbourne skating rink is open. They had a few cracks, but they were able to fill the cracks. And so the skating rink in Melbourne that we supported in the budget has now officially opened for the time being.
Good. They've had good weather. Yep. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. That's great. I'll have to take a drive by. Any other council announcements? Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd just like to remind everybody that there will be vaccination clinics on the 14th in Melbourne at the Fire Hall, and on the 20th, in January 20th in Glencoe. And that's on Thursday for vaccination boosters.
Okay, great.
And could I just confirm that it is the 20th? I've had a few people ask that the date maybe was a bit in question.
Good question, Michael. The 20th, and then I also heard the 31st. Jill, can you clarify that, or is it both?
It's both.
Yeah, I thought maybe it might.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And we certainly hope that it works. Both those dates work well, because there's a duration of time has elapsed, and we encourage people to get a booster. And we hope they're successful, and we're very pleased that those clinics are coming. Council, we have some business to discuss in closed session regarding labor relations and employee relations, and there's a proposal or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality in regard to the geographical area of Tower Road and Industrial Road. Can I have a motion to move into camera and a seconder, and should it pass, I'll hand the gavel over to the Deputy Mayor. Councillor McGill, Councillor Vink. Thank you. Questions? All in favor? Carried. And Jill, I bet you're going to say something about the bylaws before we do that. Thank you. I was kind of reading your mind there. I'm going to call the question, all in favor, and then we'll do the bylaws and move in, okay? Because the motion's on. Yes.
I'd make the motion that we pass most of the bylaws except for the one that Councillor Choi has a conflict of interest with, and that we would address that one afterwards.
Okay. A motion to adopt the bylaws as presented, with the exception as noted where there's a conflict. Yes, Amy, if you'd like to.
Sorry, that wasn't, yes,
Yep.
thank you. That was an error in my paperwork, and I do not need to be excluded from 16H.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine, then we can move the motion that there is, we'll take that motion and then we'll call the other one. We have no conflicts regarding the bylaws. It's been moved by Councillor Cal. Is there a seconder? Was that seconded? Someone give me a second. Mark, thank you very much for that. We're voting on the bylaws being adopted as recommended by staff that the readings be approved. All in favor? Motion is carried. And that will accommodate us coming back into business once we, it'll for the convenience of those watching, that's the best way to do that. Council, thank you. We have been given the reasons of why we are going into committee of the whole in camera. We have a mover and a seconder for that. And we will, there are no questions regarding that. Thank you. And we will call the vote. All in favor?
I think we did already, didn't we?
No, I think Councillor Cal might have interrupted us there. All right, but that's fine, carried. Deputy Mayor, I'll hand the gavel over to you.